5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to British and Irish Military Records Study Group. Pretty excited with some of the things that Claire has told me we're going to be talking about today. I thought I'd share this page with you from ICAP-Gen, the International Commission for the Accreditation of Professional Genealogists. This is one of the credentialing organizations that's quite popular here in the United States. And you can see this entry, Cousin Russ has shared the link with you, that Claire has her bachelor's degree in computer information science and her master's in, the MLIS stands for Masters in Library Information Science. I got that right, didn't I, Claire? And AG, with the registered mark on it, stands for her accreditation as part of ICAP-Gen. So she is our expert that's been guiding us along. I notice we have 7 viewers at this point in time. And Claire's a former British Isles Reference Desk employee of the Family History Library. Now you're teaching online classes at Brigham Young University, Idaho. It's all online, so you can do it from anywhere in the world with internet. Let me show everybody what it is we're working with, Claire, because you've been working very diligently on this Google sheet. And it has various tabs. There's National Archives, online records, and as you can see, folks, whoops, I've scrolled down past the list. Each week, Claire is adding new things to this list as either she runs across them or we discuss them during the Hangout. There's FamilySearch. Here's the Genealogist.org. Are there any more? Oh, golly. FindMyPast. Oh, heavens. The Chelsea Pensioner Records. And by the way, it's just incredible. This is the same thing we do or have done in the past, like with our Scottish Records Research Study Group, with our Beginning Study Group. And Cousin Russ was the brilliant one who figured out, let's do this, and that way you can have the latest, greatest information as to what we talk about. Remember that every week you're going to want to update this, and I recommend you do it after class because even in the green room, Cousin Russ came up with something and Claire added it to the list today. So you go to File and then you can download it as a Microsoft Excel or just make a copy of it and it will be in your own Google Drive. Google Drive is another hard drive, but it's in the cloud, right, Cousin Russ?
Absolutely.
We love it. It makes it so much easier to share. Okay, Claire, what kind of stuff are we going to be doing today?
Well, I'd like to start with the Crimean War records, and I sent you a little link, and we discussed that just briefly. And let's talk about that just for a moment, if you could bring that up. And there's a little synopsis of it. The History Channel did a fabulous job on putting this together. I mean, anybody that wants to know a little bit more, they've got videos, they've got they did a very good job on the Crimean War. It was a small 3-year situation with Russia, and if you scroll down past the gentlemen on horses or the military guys, there it tells you a little bit about the battles and about what they did. It says that it stemmed from Russia's threat to the multiple European interest with its pressure of Turkey, and then they wanted the Russian evacuation of the Danubian principalities and British and French. So it's a lot of stuff going on all over there in the European area. I haven't been able to find any records online. The National Archives, if we go to that page in the spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. I'll go to the spreadsheet.
Right, go to spreadsheet. You'll see that under the National Archives.
Okay, we'll get there.
I know it. I know it.
Okay, here we are.
You'll see that it says that, to my knowledge, it's not available online, and those are the War Office records. It says 1/368 to War Office 1/384. So I'm hoping that maybe our wonderful friend Audrey Collins can help us maybe get a copy of one so we can see what it looks like.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's amazing that as we're talking about 1707, starting with things like that's when British military history began, and then there was French and Indian War, American Revolution, Napoleonic, 1812. They were back here again in the U.S. That look how many records are available online, but we really need to remember that the majority of all records ever created that might mention our ancestors are not yet digital. They're still in paper format. I'm excited there's this much available.
Right, and I know we had discussed going into the Boer Wars here, but I just got this little feeling that we need to mention that War of 1812. You know how we are going through and collecting funds to put the War of 1812 you know, online, but there's a British side to the War of 1812. And there's a tremendous amount of records available from the British side if you want to click on some of those links.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to just put in a plug for preservethepensions.org, which is what we're doing on this side.
Right.
And yeah, but we can have people on both sides. And we're not looking at this with a prejudicial eye. We're just looking for documents that mention an ancestor. So which one do you want me to click on here?
Okay, so let's see. That very first one says Great Britain.
War of 1812.
Yep, it goes in the, yep, and then there's, yeah, click on that. I don't know if it'll get you there.
Yes,
and it brings up the National Archives. Yeah, there it is. So this is the wiki article, and it's tremendous. It brings it so you could actually click most of those links right from here. It talks about some of the privateers and the British prisoners of war that were actually within the United States, and there's a casualty list. So that's our wiki article. So if you could just click back out of that and go back to the spreadsheet and we'll go on to the next one that's right next to it. There's a website to the right of that called the War of 1812 website.
That's about the only war I can remember the year.
I know, maybe because it was called that. What's interesting is that it has the regiments that were here in North America.
Okay, so you have cavalry. So three different units of the cavalry, a number of infantry units, and we must have the Navy somewhere here. Boy, that's a lot of infantry units.
Right. Now, one of the things I found is that I couldn't get any particular record sets here. You can click and get assistance to get them, but at least it lets you know what regiments were actually here. A lot of people were here.
Wow. Now, let me mention, when it says Sutherland Highlanders, that's Scotland, isn't it?
That's correct. And the one above it, Perthshire, is also.
Yes. Okay, so these are, you know, after our Scottish record study group from last year, some of these names are starting to stick in the old brain here.
And notice there's the Nova Scotia Fencibles and the Canadian and Newfoundland. Yeah. So, I mean, this was quite a number of different countries that were brought in to help with this War of 1812.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And now we get to the Royal Marines, etc. Okay. Got it. And we've got there's our Audrey. Audrey, we're up to the War of 1812. Welcome. Okay, so he's invited you to the panel, and you'll be on your way. We can hear you fine. Okay, so this is a resource available to those of us who may realize that, in my case, in Cousin Russ's case, we have ancestors that were here in 1812, and we're dealing with the greater Baltimore area, the bombardment of Baltimore. Fort McHenry. But we need to consider there's two sides to every question, and so we're looking at places to find out about the units that served during the War of 1812 from the British side. Okay. All right.
All right. So if you go back to the page.
Okay, let me close that.
Yeah. Okay. Now you'll notice that the next thing down is some prisoners that were from the UK, of course, here in the United States. And there's actually a couple of samples there, so you could bring that up and let people see what kind of records are available there.
Okay, now this is an 1812privateers.org, but they're saying that their source is the National Archives.
Right.
Okay, do you want me to click on this?
Yeah, so you can ask. There's a full index under there, but this is what the records look like.
Okay. All right. Current number, name,
Yeah.
rank. Can you see this okay, or should I zoom in a little? That's better, isn't it?
That's better, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, very readable. My gosh.
I know.
Wow. Rank.
They did a good job of doing that, of actually making a copy for us. I thought that was really good.
Yes, to what belonging? Now that's a little like the Brigade Avery. That must be a type of ship.
Would be. Yep.
Okay, thank you for helping me with that, Russ. Audrey, could you do me a great favor and not put your hand on your mic? Because what it's doing, thank you, babe. It's clicking so much it was killing my ear.
Sorry.
All right. By who captured? By the sloop. By this particular one.
Right.
By the schooner, Young Teaser, or whatever it's called. Okay. Something about a date here.
Yeah, I can't tell what that is. I don't know.
Hard to see it in that sample.
It really is. And then it goes on and it shows the dates of when they were there and where they were, I believe.
And how they were disposed of.
Disposed of.
What a terrible phrase, disposed of.
I know, disposed of. I know, that's terrible.
But I get that. Okay, Salem, Massachusetts, Concord, something at Salem. Yeah, okay. So we're getting an idea that it's just fascinating that these things are available. And this particular website has transcribed the index.
Right. If you look underneath, it says that down underneath there's some PDFs, and there's also original document PDF files, roughly each one of those. So you could open one of those up and see it.
Okay, it'll take a minute to down. Oh, that didn't take long. It says it could take 50 megabytes in size, so when it actually opens, it's going to take a while, it says.
Right. Now, those are the ABC, but there is an index above it, so we don't need to open that up since you're going to go to the actual records. But read through what he has to tell us about them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the prisoners, some 15,500.
Okay. And I am shocked to read that it was included passengers and children that might have been on these merchant vessels. I would have expected the Navy personnel, and if there was a foreign seaman on board. Yeah, African American. What a mixture of people.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a whole mix, and he tells you that he's compiled, or whoever compiled 2 indexes, one full, one index by the ships and stuff, and goes on. And then he's also, under the surname, given us the original documents, which I think we could actually blow up and find out what that column says.
Okay, well, we're going to have to wait. Apparently it's going to take another minute. But in the context of the timeline of wars, and we're looking at this this is the FamilySearch British military record, just a general sketchy outline of what the wars are. We're at this point. We haven't done Napoleonic, but we're in this range today. Boer wars. Okay, got it.
And Audrey, we did mention the Crimean War, but we couldn't find any records available. Those seem to be available only at the National Archives. Can you tell us if that's the way it is with those?
Kind of. We don't generally have things categorized according to a particular conflict. Even the records for the First World War, they are, strictly speaking, post-1913 records. So anything for the Crimean War would come in, the general series of records up to 1913. Where you get specific things relating to a conflict would be things like the medal records. So you get the people who served in the Crimea. But for the regular soldiers, there's no particular difference regarding their service records, whether they served before, during, after, or both.
Okay, that's great to know.
So would they be filed then by name or by unit, or how do they I mean, if you're walking through the National Archives in the vault of these old, where I don't know, someday I'll come to England and maybe if I'm good, you'll let me take a peek.
I'll give you a 5-star, all singing, all dancing. Yeah, the records, they're more arranged by type, and a lot of the really useful ones, other things are now online. So you will have full service records where they exist, which
Okay.
like the pension records, and the other really big series that pretty much everybody is in will be the musters.
The musters, okay.
They go about, they really start fizzling out about the 1870s, 80s, but so for the Crimean period, they're fairly good.
Okay, so that's that middle 1800 time period. All right, let's see if my little thing has downloaded. Yes, it has. So we're going to move the camera back and we'll look at this PDF file once it decides to open here. Okay, oh my gosh, how fragile. Look at this, folks. You're going to flip when you see this.
Oh my gosh.
A list of British pensioners of the war captured by United States during the War of 1812. So this person ordered this up. Is that like a call slip or something?
Yeah, that's right. That's when you order a document, you order on the computer, and what that instantly does is it spits out one of these little yellow barcoded slips, and well, that's actually a couple of them, and then somebody in the repository goes off and on a little truck gets the document and puts it in a sort of snazzy document elevator thing and delivers it to the reading room. It takes about 45 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty good. Do you have, at the National Archives, Audrey, do you have regular call slip deadlines like they do at our National Archives in the U.S.? Like, for instance, maybe it's you have to submit by 10 and it'll be available 2 hours later on the other floor?
You have to, the document ordering times.
Yeah.
As soon as we open the order, the document ordering closes at 4:15.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really pushing it if you order something that late, because by the time it arrives in the reading room, security are coming around to throw you out. But you might.
Then I have another question. Suppose I'm there for several days of research. And can I, if I'm there for several days of research at the National Archives in England, and I get a record and I want to look at it again the next day, can I have it reserved or does it go back?
Oh, no, there's a way of doing that. In fact, we have a tannoy announcement and it says, we're closing soon. And if you want to save it for another day, there's an online system for doing that. You just go and swipe your reader's ticket and there's an option that says save for another day. So if you've got something out, it will be kept for you for the next day or for...
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Our ordering and delivery system is very, very good. Our document services people are absolutely fantastic. We don't generally see them, but if they weren't as efficient as they are, we wouldn't be half as much a nice place to research. They're really, really good.
I think that's great. Well, we love archivists and we love the people that are the clerks that pull things. So as rough as this book cover looks, look how the sheets are. Beautiful handwriting, etc. Now I'm going to zoom in so we can find out what that one page said. So let me go to like 150%. Name, rank, where belonging.
Aha, when captured.
That's what it is. The date of capture and
date
where.
Of capture, yeah.
And where they were held.
Right.
All right, can you all see this okay, Cousin Russ?
Yeah, I can.
Because you're full screen and that makes it better. And then where held, when, and how disposed of. Okay, I still have trouble with that phrase.
I do have trouble with that one too.
So they marched, in this case, there's some clicking or pounding going on. It's distracting.
Audrey, Audrey, please check your settings at the top of the screen for your headset. Thank you. She
might just have to mute herself. Here's one of the resolutions. Thank you. Marched from Pittsfield to Canada for 10 days and actions.
Right.
Something like that. Or 13 days or something like that.
That's what it looks like, yes.
Okay. All right, so that is the prisoner record, and that is quite phenomenal that that's digitized and linked there at this website. That's the one for this
Right there.
one, Great Britain, prisoners of
Prisoners.
war in the U.S., and a casualty database.
Yeah, you can click on that.
Okay.
And that's a casualty, so not everyone was able to, some people unfortunately got injured during the war. And this one here, you have to know, so I just put a last name in and was able to come up with some information. But to me, I think this one here doesn't help you as much as the other one did. So I went to the advanced and put in his last name, so we could put in Russ's last name. I used Chapman, and that came up fine, but whatever.
Okay. It's always incredible to me what we find, and that people who are watching us as we're going through this record survey are able. Oh, there's the list.
Right.
At first, I was a little panicked because I still saw at the top the search engine fields, and I didn't realize I should scroll down.
Right. So I think there's enough information here to go forward to find them amongst the British records.
Okay, so it at least lets you look by name, and then you can find the regiment, which would, and the time period. So that's pretty cool. All right, none of these are clickable. They look kind of clickable because they're colorful.
I know, but they're not. But it's at least it's better to me. It was better to have that than to not have it.
Well, and I just want to mention something here. We talk about this in beginning genealogy and from time to time in other study groups we have, that if this is what I have at this point on George Chapman, Corporal in the 8th King's Regiment of Foot, 1st Battalion, I cite this website and that entry right now in my genealogy software until I get to original documents. This is all I know about the fellow so far, and it might be my guy. I'm pretty sure it's my guy, because I know he wasn't he didn't serve in Her Majesty's Navy.
Now we could get a copy of a death certificate. We have a death date, and so that would be a step in the right direction. And we could also check to see if he's on the Commonwealth Graves Commission, War Graves. And so there's a couple of avenues that we can take to sort of start adding and flesh to this individual.
But it's perfectly okay to make reference. I mean, that's the first indication I have of his date of death, 8/15/1814.
Correct.
And so that's all I know at this point. And yes, you're right. There are research paths we can take to find out more about this fellow. Okay, what shall we do next? Russ,
okay, if we go back.
Something, Russ?
Yeah, or maybe somebody's in the community's got something to add.
We're good.
We're good. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the spreadsheet then.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and you'll notice that there is reckoned about impressed seamen, and I was really struggling with that word, impressed seamen.
So they're maybe impressive sailors, huh?
So maybe because this is a National Archives things that we could get some help with Audrey with this one.
Well, this is our National Archives, so look, there's our logo.
I know.
Okay, so they're giving historical background. So these are apparently people that got pushed into service. Maybe
it says in British impressment of seamen on American ships.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, I guess, a real kind of strange way.
So this is what I've heard about, that the British could capture a ship and take those sailors off that ship and put them into their ship or put them in the service of Her Majesty. And I remember this was a big sticking point for resolving the differences between the U.S. and Britain or England. Some cases French were impressed. I didn't know that. I knew about Spanish and I knew about what happened with American sailors, and it was a big problem. So they're talking about microfilmed record groups, and that gets us oriented.
Right. So I mean, these records are only going to be, I don't think they're available online.
No.
From what I've seen, but we do need to know that they're there because it actually happened, and like you said, it was a sticking point during this time period. Serious. A serious sticking point.
We needed Henry Kissinger then. He is such a great negotiator. So in part 4 of this, it says specifically the advice from our National Archives. I'm going to say that instead of the National Archives. Okay, Audrey?
All right.
Know that I mean that lovingly. That they're available in Archives 1 and 13 narrow regional facilities. So 700 Pennsylvania Avenue, and these are the research facilities. Same thing, adding a few others. So for the second record group. So very good. Thank you for that. This is very helpful to have this. And if we were to, let me just talk to you face to face for a minute. Audrey and Claire, I've always been taught, and I remember my expertise is U.S. research, that if you have a fellow anywhere from about 12 years of age to 80 if he can walk, that you need to look and see the history of the country and what battles that country or what wars, foreign or domestic, occurred during that person's span of life. And don't disqualify them because they're 68 or something like that. Heavens, Mr. Mert is like 67. So that's not that old if you ask me. And would you say that's true, Audrey, for... I'd
go a bit further than that, because although we tend to think in terms of wars and conflicts, when you do have a big thing going on like the Napoleonic Wars and the Crimea and the Boer Wars, the British Army in particular was absolutely enormous. And even in what you'd consider peacetime, we had a really great big empire to keep an eye on. So effectively, a lot of the Army and the Navy and the Marines were more in a policing role rather than maybe an active conflict role. So just because there wasn't a big famous war going on doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of army. And at any given time, a huge proportion of the British Army was going to be in India.
True, yes.
Part of the empire.
To protect the interests of England in this foreign empire, part of the empire.
Indian army, which was different.
Ah.
So one of the first things we do, somebody said, oh, so-and-so was in the army and they were in India. They were probably in the British Army in India, but we have to be careful because it might be that they were in the Indian Army, in which case we don't have the records. They're at the British Library.
Okay, so the records of, this is Indian Army, would they have been British subjects or would they have been Indian subjects?
The sergeants and above were basically white British.
Yes.
The ordinary soldiers were Indian. And it was nowhere near as big as the British Army. So most of the time, when you're talking about somebody who was in the army in India and they're white British, they were probably in the British Army, but not necessarily. So you have to be a bit careful so you don't send somebody going down completely the wrong path.
Yes. Okay. That's an interesting point, don't you think, Claire?
I really do. The last, I think it's valuable to take that into consideration of the size of the army, of in their lifetime what records were available, what they actually did, what was going on, and it would affect perhaps their livelihood and how they supported their families.
Okay, so we're back to your outline.
Right. Now slip over to the Ancestry.com, and there's one more set of records for the 1812 for the British side, I believe. It does say prison of war records right up there.
And we also have something with Waterloo. Oh, that's Waterloo muster.
That's Waterloo. That's different.
So that's our friend. Yeah. Then okay.
So, but there are some casualty records there from Ancestry, prison of war records, and I'm not sure if these are connected to the casualty records that we had nothing. Remember, we could not click anything. We just had. So I'm not sure if they're connected, but I know that they're there.
All right. Well, first of all, let's do. Well, one thing I want to mention, folks. Have you noticed that unlike in Microsoft Excel, where you just click on a link and it opens, in Google Sheets, when you get near a link with your mouse, pops this dialog box, and that's where you click to go to that site. So if you're not used to Google Sheets, That's the plan. All right, let's go look
I'm
at
glad
this.
you explained that. It took me a while
Yeah.
to figure that one out
I know,
myself.
because I kept thinking I was going to click on the thing above because of how that dialog box pops up. So, Cousin Russ, you always point me to look at the source information of any database, whatever website I'm on. And so we're looking at index of records.
Yeah, and I'm just curious to whether these are American prisoners or English prisoners. I don't see anything that indicates one way or the other.
I think it's regarding American soldiers.
Down in the about, it says regarding American soldiers, but
So down the bottom
regards,
and it says and British soldiers
right,
down there
exactly.
too.
Oh, it does.
Yep, and so therefore it's worth looking into to see if this might help somebody find a particular relative.
All right, so that's the record group. I recognize this as the National Archives of the U.S., our National Archives. That's one record group because there's a semicolon. Then the next part of the original data is the Adjutant General's Office Record Group 94, which is a humongous collection.
Correct.
My gosh, Record Group 94. Craig Scott's taught me a lot about that. Then there's another record group, and they list the microfilm. Oh, good, there's only one roll there. And again, they're referring us to one subset of Record Group 94. So let's go back up here and
let's do a search for someone.
Yeah, and is there anyone in the group who wonders if, maybe in the community, if they have a soldier that was a prisoner of war? I'm going to just pick a name, Clark. I'll put it without the, well, I can do without the E.
I wonder, for Ancestry, you could probably do it either or, I think.
Yeah, because I'm not going to click this exact. And we're just looking as... to
see what kind of records we have.
Yeah. Oh, golly. Okay, let's go look.
All right, looks like we got some good records.
This is what I think of as a transmittal jacket. And there again is the source information, but let's view it and see what we get. Okay, and I'm going to turn on the microfilm thing at the bottom. It's basically, these are all general index cards, or I thought it was a transmittal jacket that folds. So at least what you're doing is you're getting John Clark, or in this case Jesse Clark's index cards, much more informative. We know he's a private, we know his regiment, and that he's an infantryman. Let's see what else we get. Oh, so then there's a manuscript. So we go from the index and then look things up in the manuscript. Or
yeah, and I'm not sure where we would go for that manuscript unless we go back to those record sets of 94. Oh, there it is. There we go.
All right, this is an unusual page because in addition to the fellow's name and view the index entry, we've got this manuscript. So let's go see what that looks like.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the top of the page. Oh my gosh. This is the return of the U.S. troops being something or other. Let's see if I can zoom out. Nope, that's just what it is.
Being
something of the War of 18. The British government.
And sent
put on parole from Quebec. So this is similar to what I've seen for the Civil War, where they have the list of the people that were paroled out of Andersonville or Lookout Point or one of these other Civil War prisons. Now what's happening is you've got the U.S. government saying, these are our U.S. troops that from wherever they were, they ended up being paroled or given back or taken out of their confinement in Quebec. Right. And they're at Castle Island. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then it lists them, and each gentleman, I'm sure, explains their rank and their what unit they're associated with.
Right, and I think that's a fabulous resource.
Do you know that this is a kind of record that would begin our study of an ancestor were we wishing to become become a member of a lineage organization associated with the War of 1812, which we do have that in the U.S. One of them died. So yeah, very cool record set.
It's a very good record set. So this is another good one, and
why can't my ancestors' documents have good handwriting like this? This is just sick.
There's your James Clark.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Very, very cool. All right. I was thinking of one of Carrie's neighbors when I chose that one. Okay, should we get back to our list? What should we do next?
Unless there's somebody else that has anything else to say about the War of 1812, we could slip into the Boer Wars next. But Audrey may want to say something.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I may have missed this because obviously I wasn't here right at the very beginning. But the War of 1812 prisoners, or the whole Napoleonic period prisoners, so Americans, French, you name it, and some British prisoners as well. A lot of those records, like the one you showed us, they're in that series ADM 103 because it was the Navy that had to keep track of the prisoners. They had to put them on ships and so forth. And, you know, they're fantastic records, as we've seen. Now, we used to have a paper index that you needed to use to try and find things in them. But a lot of those records, not that specific book that you showed us, a lot of the others, they're now online on FindMyPast, so you can name search them.
Wow, okay.
All right, so maybe we should...
Huge collection. I think if you look at the guide about prisoners of war, that probably has a direct link because it's a huge series they're doing for...
So maybe...
Okay, so let's just show this research path that Audrey is describing to us. When she's talking about the guides, remember, she works at the National Archives. And this is that... I think they had, what was it, 62 guides. Okay, I'm going to deselect things and only put, I saw it here.
You have to go there for prisoners, that's it.
Prisoners of war. Okay, I'm zooming in. Okay, and I'm going to apply that. Okay.
You'll see that...
Ooh, what a big time period.
Yeah, that bottom one, that's the one that's specifically about the records that are online. Now, it's one of those huge series, and what FindMyPast tend to do when they take on a massive thing like this is that they will digitize some of it. They will usually put about a third online, and then a bit later another third will go online, and then finally they'll put the rest on. Now, at the moment, I think there's about 2/3 of the total is now online. So the one you showed us was ADM 103466. That one's not online, but ADM 103465 is, and that's another one about American prisoners. So most of what we've got is French prisoners, because understandably it covers not just the War of 1812 stuff, but a lot of the European end of it. But if you go follow the link into FindMyPast, and they've got a bit, I think it's, find out more about these records, and they do list, I think if you scroll down a bit on this page, they have a...
Wow.
They tell you quite a lot about it, and then somewhere, I think it's right down at the bottom, I think they have a list of the actual, the document references. Yeah, that's it. If you click on where it says Napoleonic Wars archive references, then that opens up a list of all the pieces. Now you see a lot of them are French prisoners, but you can see there's one down there, number 14, it's Barbados, American prisoners of war and sick prisoners, and so on and so on. So there's a few specifically of Americans, and so on and so on. But so that's what's online at the moment. And of course, there might be with nationality.
Okay, Russ, we're getting that feedback. What can you advise us, if anything?
Audrey, did you check your settings at the beginning?
Yeah, move your mouse up to the top. And while she's doing that, I'd like to mention something about FindMyPast. When you have a tree at FindMyPast, or you do and you're looking for hints in your tree, military records are not part of this. Military records are not part of this. Okay, so what have you got here, Cousin Russ, that you added to the screen? You've got a big comment coming in. Let's get that in the, recording.
That's for
From
what
this.
that's what the acronyms that Audrey just talked about.
Okay,
AEM and WO.
Okay. Thank you. So, Audrey, could you mute yourself temporarily?
Yeah, I was going to say that the settings are all on the sort of default. So I'll mute myself.
The default is not the right answer. You want to select your headset, please.
Okay, and the other thing that will mute yourself first. We'll give you some direction here. The mute is at the top. Good. All right. Now, when you go to settings up there, which is the little gear up on that same area in the middle, then you select something other than default. Like mine's the Live Chat LX3000. So whatever yours is, that'll help us and we won't get that feedback. No worries whatsoever. Thank you. Oh, I'm so happy to have her here.
Yeah, because I think, is that better now?
Yes.
Much better,
yes.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Because last time when I logged in, the settings were exactly as I'd left them and everything was fine. So
does it all the time. It's
just check it every time.
So it's not just me then.
Yeah,
okay.
It does it. It doesn't. It's not a sticky setting for some reason. Okay, so just remember when you're looking for an ancestor and you want to dive into military records, do your search here. Do not wait for a link of to a suggestion on your tree that you may have uploaded. So sometimes it helps to have two tabs open or two screens with the main part of FindMyPast versus your tree part of FindMyPast. Okay, enough of that. Are we through with 1812?
Well, I just wondered if you wanted to take a look at that set of records that she just showed you to see what was there.
Okay, let me find where we were. That one we can close.
Yeah, that one we can close.
Okay.
That one. That's it right there.
Okay.
That one. Oh, that led us to the FindMyPast.
Okay, so let's go ahead and search for somebody again.
No, that's the actual link to FindMyPast, Pat.
Oh, okay. We have to get to FindMyPast.
And I think you opened it.
Right here. Right here.
Right.
You know, other people are going to have this same thing, where they're not sure where to do it. And I would have been searching at the National Archives. Okay, now here it still says in association with the National Archives, but up in the upper left, where it FindMyPast. Okay.
I'm just going to say, would it be helpful if I explained a little bit about how our records get digitized? Because
that would be great.
We have from our point of view, we have an advantage that your National Archives don't have, which is to do with copyright law. Although the information in the records is all public domain, but the images are Crown copyright. So we can generate an income by getting other people not just to digitize them, but they have to pay us. So if you're clicking on one of these links on FindMyPast or Ancestry or MyHeritage to one of our records, every time you do that, we get some money and we can put that into doing the stuff that's not very commercial. And also, when we started digitizing, which we started doing probably about 15 years ago, and the first really big collection we put online was PCC wills, there was a bit more money sloshing about then, and we could afford the very big upfront costs to digitize that, because we get the money back, but it's a long haul. Now, there's no way we could use taxpayers' money for that sort of speculation now. So that's why when we have a huge record collection like census, like military records, we will usually invite tenders from commercial companies, and the condition is that if you're in our building, the access is completely free. Or if you're in a lot of libraries have got subscriptions, and obviously the FamilySearch centres. So the records are still free on site. They're free to access in a lot of other places. And if you want to have your own subscription, you can pay. But it does mean that we're able to get a lot of our records digitized, which we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So that's
Excellent.
why they're not all on it. Some are on our site, but the great majority are on somebody else's site, which is why we always say start with the guide, because there
Start
might
with
not
the
be something
guide.
on our side. And then
Okay.
that will take you where you need to go.
And in this case, it's FindMyPast. So
And it's Worthington's.
yeah, I picked Worthington, funny thing. But now, remember, this covers a humongous time period, including World War II. And as I click through all the way up to the 5th page, it gave me, it was still World War II. So I noticed I could sort by name or rank or country of imprisonment, but I'm going to try conflict. There's Napoleonic Wars. So we skip right away to World War II in this record set. But as long as we're here, shall we look at them?
It shows
Why
that
not?
the Worthingtons are good at keeping out of trouble by the looks of it. So.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to,
I think
let's
the
click.
Napoleonic Wars would be good, and that's what you're taking, so that's great.
Yeah, just a second. It's taking a while. Okay, it's asking me to log in.
Yep.
Let's hope this is part of my LDS subscription. It is.
It is. Yay!
Okay, and remember, I have an LDS subscription only because I'm always testing to see where the boundaries are at FindMyPast or Ancestry or MyHeritage to see if there are any record sets that are not part of the collection. And so far, I've only found 2 in Ancestry. So let's view the image if we get to do that.
I think it's so cool when we get to see the image. Even youngsters love to see that when they first see their first census record or anything. It's fabulous for them.
All right, so I'm zooming way in.
Yep.
Okay, and it's a form filled out. Okay, there's what ship, the time taken, where, and the prisoner's name. And so we're looking for somebody named Worthington. So for the fun of it, we'll go look. Apparently there's a lot of ditto marks. Let's see, that must have listed everybody on the Valiant who were captured 9th of July, 1808. But let's keep going.
Yeah.
There
he is, Mr. Williams.
He is. Look at that fancy W with little squiggly marks on the side. So he was on the Valiant. Okay, now I don't know what these ditto marks are, so let's follow the ditto marks going up. And yes, I guess Pierre César, name of
that would be the name of the ship. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the prize, these navies were going around capturing each other's ships. They didn't just throw them out the water. So they would capture a ship, and then if it was half decent, it would get renamed and called something like the John Bull or something like that. So you get ships that have got bouncing backwards and forwards. They have a French name, a British name, a French name, a British name, and so on.
And your only hope is what flag is up the main mast. Yes. Okay, and then there's some statistical information. And I'm going to zoom in at the top so you can see what that might be. And I initially used this plus and this minus to zoom in and out. But again, the little roller bar on the top of my mouse is really helpful. Okay, that's as far as I can zoom in, but let's go. Supplies of bedding and clothing, if they got a blanket, a hammock, shirt, socks, handkerchiefs. They're even noting handkerchiefs. I wonder if your guy got a handkerchief. It's this last little one. Discharge, time, when, and whether, and by what order discharged. Okay, so let's go down. Oh, I don't even know where the Worthington guy is.
But still, it gives you an idea of what's on those records, and I think that's fabulous.
Boy, this one guy got almost everything by the time you went through the 10th of August, the 30th of September, 05, and the 1st of February. Well, no wonder. He was there as a prisoner for many years.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what a prisoner of war record looks like. And again, remember that our research pathway was based on, let me go back to this original part, to this 62 guides.
Yep.
I think if you count everything, clear all, apply all. Whoops, I don't think I had any applied. There's a million guides there. Let's just print a gazillion. Very helpful. All right. So
if you go to the link for family history guides, there's 206. So.
Oh my gosh. our National Archives here in the U.S. has a lot of guides that are just handwritten in notebooks that the various, like George over in the area where you pull up federal land records, and it's half of it's in his brain and the other half is in paper format. This is what you've what you've created in the way of very helpful.
Yeah, that's what these
guides.
things started off. You know, I've still got some of the old ones that were typescript things from the old days at Chancery Lane. And although they've changed a lot, they've evolved out of these things, which nowadays, if you were creating one of these things, you'd call it an FAQs.
Yeah, frequently
but
asked
that's
question.
why they were created. People are always asking us this same blooming question. Here's a guide, go away and read it and don't wake the archivist. This has now developed into several hundred. I think altogether on all subjects we've got somewhere close to 300 guides.
Well, I checked all of these for military. Look at this little part here, show only guides with all records online. That's an intriguing qualifier for this search. So let's click that just for the heck of it, as long as we're here and I noticed it. So we have 39 guides. Let me zoom out so you can see the normal settings. British nurses, French muster rolls from Trafalgar, First World War service and pension records available on Ancestry. Wow, that kind of Audrey, I can't tell you how valuable this little thing, show only guides and records online.
Well, I'll tell my colleagues who work on the editorial team will be very pleased that you're pleased with that, because they put an awful lot of work into that.
Oh, I literally, if they like donuts, I would call
they need to be
someplace in London and send them over, because I mean that is an incredible switch. Because otherwise, we're stuck. And this is so helpful, and I just happened to notice that. I'm sorry, I'm discovering this as we go along. All right, folks, in the community, I know we've got some very dedicated followers that have given me feedback personally by Facebook or email, and a couple of comments in previous study groups. I'd like to hear your feedback and where you are in your thinking as to whether or not you have an ancestor for this time period. And the Boer Wars were coming up next, I think. Where are we, Claire? Let me get to
we're doing the Boer Wars, and that covers 1880 to 1902, and we'll cover those, and we could start with maybe the first set under the National Archives. They have the let's see, the first of the British Army operations up to 1913 is the first link there.
Okay, this one?
Right above it, the next one right above it.
The Boer Wars?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, before we go there, they need to know, I think that Cousin Russ had put up a couple links because there were two Boer Wars, and it gets confusing as to which one that we're talking about. So I think this one covers the first, and then there's another one that covers the second. So maybe we'll have enough time at least to introduce both of them, at least, and then we can go into the records next week.
Okay, it's almost time.
Yes,
all right,
I'm just looking.
Let's go look at some records, because I know that they can get their background on this.
All right, then let's do that. Let's go
I really want to go see those documents. All right.
Okay, let's go do that.
Where the heck we were again?
You were on the National Archives. There it is. Remember,
Okay.
it's British operations up to 1913.
I'm hoping we can take a peek there and at the Victoria Cross registers, even though we won't have done, because it covers some people from this earlier time.
So
there's the guide.
There's our guide. Yep, there's the guide.
So they're giving you an idea here that we have to go through ordering copies.
Yep.
Or pay somebody to do it, or come in person to visit.
So at least if there's nothing online, we're upfront about it. You get the brutal truth right at the top.
Love it.
Don't go looking for an online record if there isn't one,
Totally.
And I think that's important. I think that so people know that they need to do that. What I think is cool is, though, even though it says offline right now, there is a live chat. So somebody that's just getting up in the morning and the first thing they do is go check there, they can get clarification on that and how to go forward.
And it might be me on the other end of it, because sometimes I do that duty.
Be nice, guys. We love her.
And I'm the only Audrey who works there, so if it's an Audrey, it's me.
Okay. Oh, so you're not like our local Comcast when they call. It's not the same person. I mean, it's not the person's name. They have fake names for their security.
We have genuine names. They're all.
Yeah. Well, you're
written
pretty
to us.
genuine in my book anyway. Okay.
So did you want to check the Victorian cross before we
Yes.
close?
Yes.
Just go back to that page, and then you'll find it
Okay.
right there.
All right. Because some of this is 1856, but I realize it goes into World War II.
Right.
All right. So this time they're all online. Thank you. Thank you. This is, an incredible. All right. They're all online. And let's see what we do. How do I search these records? Okay. Let's put
a name in. All
okay.
right.
Give me a name, guys. And I shall type it in.
Okay.
William Gordon. He's a relative of mine. I
Okay.
am distantly related to someone who won the VC.
Okay. This is William. And what's the last name?
Gordon.
Oh, like Gordon, my sweetheart?
That's it. Yes, like
Yes.
You know him well. He's here paying attention, as always. Okay.
And he should be the second one down. He has a middle name, but it's misspelt on the record.
Okay.
There he is,
Eagleson
Yes,
Captain.
his name is actually William Eagleson Gordon, but on the official announcement, it is misspelt. So the misspelling stays because that's what's in the official record. The London Gazette did make a correction a couple of weeks later, but the one that we have is the initial announcement, so the wrong spelling stays.
Okay, so it's available to view. If I add it to my basket, does that mean I'm paying for this?
Yes, but in the case of these Victoria Cross registers, you can also get them on the London Gazette. And except in the case of William Eagleson Gordon, they're going to be identical. I mean, there might be a little bit of hand annotation or something, but what that will tell you is it gives you the details of how he won, how he won his VC and what it, the circumstances. That's unusual with a gallantry award, because very often it's quite easy to find out that something happened, but it's any question that involves the word why.
All right, so this is interesting.
Yeah.
Why am I seeing it like this?
Right. That's because that's the it's kind of a thumb. It's not a thumbnail, but it's like a thumbnail. To see that particular record, you would have to pay, which is a bit of a cumbersome procedure. But it gives you an idea of the sort of thing it will look like.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So
let me
you can
zoom
see
in a little bit a
how-
different way so you can see what's down below on this screen.
What I will do is I'll have to do this for next week, because I've got my own copy of this, and I can get a copy of any of these at work. But I can show you what that looks like. And I'll try and remember to do that for next week, so you can see what one of these VC things looks like. But they also do happen to be on the London Gazette, so that's a good way.
All right, so let me keep saying London Gazette. So I'm gonna London.
Yeah,
Gazette.
the London Gazette. We have lots of our guides reference it, because you get. There's also in there, but
the official public record.
Yep, it's the official government newspaper. I did a lecture, a podcast about it, but that's been taken down because the Gazette massively changed the way it works, the way its indexes work. So my talk was out of date, so you can't get that anymore. All
right, there's a link, guys. All right, so that's what you're talking about, and we could search for him here and get a copy of it theoretically.
It is still being published. I mean, it's now an online publication. There's a print version as well, and it is still being published today. So it's got lots of snazzy tools in it, but that's only for the recent stuff, the born digital stuff from the 1980s or so onwards.
Okay.
If you want to search the old bits of the Gazette, it's basically optical character recognition, and it works moderately well, but there is a little bit of an art to it, but it's well worth getting to know it, and it is completely and utterly free. So it's very, very good for military promotions and gallantry awards and all sorts of things.
Okay.
But you know, that one's a whole subject in itself. Don't go there now.
Okay, all right. That's another day, another heartache, huh?
But if anybody has trouble sleeping, you know, they can log on to the London Gazette and play around with it. What they can make of it. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It makes me think of the publications we have that are part of our government documents, where I think of a gazette as a newspaper. And you're saying it's...
That's strictly speaking what it is. I mean, it doesn't have any funnies. There's no crosswords, no TV listings or anything.
Okay.
No angry letters to the editor. But it is a very strictly the official news that people need to know. I mean, the Victorian period, you get stuff about instructions about if there's a cholera epidemic, all the things that you mustn't do. So it can be quite an interesting read in the earlier ones.
For historical context. Wow. Okay. Well, Cousin Russ, our attendees have been paying such attention and probably doing some of their own research on the side. So we didn't have any. I think this is the first hangout where we didn't have any comments, but we do have viewers, so I know they're out there listening. Thank you, Russ, and thanks for helping us resolve Audrey's microphone thing. We check that every time. Yeah. And Claire, thank you for being here and for compiling this wonderful Google Sheet. Cousin Russ has shared the link with everybody, and we'll continue to... I'll tell you what I'd like you to do. When you know we've already discussed one of those record groups, just shade it like a pale yellow or something. So the ones that are white are ones where the cells are behind the text, the fill is white, then we know we haven't been there yet, and that'll help me.
All right, you got it, girl.
Oh, I so appreciate you. And Audrey, thanks for rushing home from work again. And I seriously have got to figure out a way to thank the people that have done these guides. You've got to tell them that it just blew me away today. And we got to think of a way
if you
to
write
them.
something nice on your blog, then I can show them the link and they will...
Okay.
That would be a great idea. That would be good.
Okay, I will do that. And I will find this part of our recording because you can say start here instead of at the beginning of the hour, and they'll hear my surprise and the fact that I could narrow it down by just what's online. So really cool stuff today. I think you all will agree. Okay, and if I get insomnia, I'll read the London Gazette. Okay. All right, everybody. It's time to go. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. This has been the British and Irish military records, and the study group is going to go on for 3 more sessions. Nothing left to say but happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.